One. What's going on, fam? Alex Linsky here for the Anti-Hustlers Weekly Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about how to build your business with science. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Brian Downard. How are you doing, buddy?
Living the dream.
Brian, can you tell us a little bit about our special guest today on the AHWS show? Tell us.
Of course, man. I am so excited to have Staeven Frey here in the house. Staeven, how you doing today, my man?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. And thanks, everybody that's watching and listening for joining us today as well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank
and,
you. Yeah,
excited to see where we go.
We're going to a lot of cool places today. So Staeven, everyone, is the founder and chief brand scientist at Quantum Branding. He helps businesses create authentic and memorable design and category leaders through the power of brand science, what he does, and really just fueling brand growth, sales, and marketing through design. And why this topic to me is so personal and important is because I'm a huge fan and dork for design. As Staeven likes to self-proclaim, he is the adorkable founder of this company. And I'm a huge dork for design. And I think it plays such an important role in business, but I also know and understand that it can create shiny objects and distractions as well. So I'm so excited to have Staeven because we went deep earlier today discussing what we wanted to get into on this show for you. And it's really how to make more money and get more clients with design through brand science and not get distracted and bogged down in all of the rabbit holes that are out there, because it's like high level, right? If any of you are using high level as a tool for your agency, there's so many things you can do with it. Like design, there's so many choices you have, but Staeven has really distilled this down into an incredible system that I'm so excited for him to get into and share. Staeven, you have a deck, I believe you prepared for everyone today, and then we're going to get into some open Q&A, but I'd love to, before we open up that deck, the question I just want to start with is why? Why is this topic important? Why does design matter? And why should people pay attention and listen? You're muted, sir.
I'm muted.
Sorry.
1 star. He's a bad guest. He was muted. Great question. And thanks for such a gracious intro. And you're right. I do like rabbits. The rabbits are pretty fun, and I think we all do. There's something about rabbits that are fun and exciting, and the idea of rabbit holes is great. And it's actually kind of similar to marketing. It's really easy to go down a lot of rabbit holes, and it's really to go into the next kind of execution or the next big thing or the next thing that you think is going to generate results. And so today I want to alleviate that. I want to talk about how branding and marketing actually works. What is the relationship? And simply stated, we just want to all just get on the same page. So just imagine for a second, we transform ourselves back to like medieval times, happy medieval times, like fantasy novel.
Renaissance?
The hero
Is
journey
Renaissance
is
medieval? I don't think Renaissance is medieval. Don't quote my history. I take it back. I redact
happy
that.
medieval times.
That's what I picture as happy
fantasy
medieval
novel
times.
And happy medieval times. It's actually where you go during the Memorial Day here in Nashville. There's like a medieval, Renaissance fair, and you can eat a turkey leg, and some people even dress up like Trekkies and go there. It's pretty fun. But imagine you're at this medieval fair, and you need to go get stuff. I need food. I need a blacksmith. How do we communicate? Back in the day, we know goods basically were like kind of like old school sandwich signs or things hanging on the wall. And it said, there's a pitcher, like a pitcher, like not a picture, but like a pitcher of beer or a stein. And then maybe there'd be a swords and or cutlery or weapons. And you knew, oh, that's the blacksmith. Fast forward to today, our technology and everything's changed. And so we use different modalities. Instead of sandwich boards and signs, we have digital marketing. We fast forwarded through video and print and web, and now we have social media. Pretty soon, we're going to have you're going to wear like your cool Wayfarer glasses, and an ad is going to pop up and ask you, how did you like that pair of pants from Gap, like they do in Minority Report? Like this is where stuff's going, right? But the modality may change, but the principle doesn't. So our baseline for today, we've got to get on the same page, or else is that marketing is just a way of saying, hi, do business with me. And then how do we remember who to do business with? And so branding is a mnemonic tool or memory device. It's like Total Recall meets Inception. We want to plant a happy memory to go do business with the people with the windmill and the safe and the whatever they do in the movie and Arnold Schwarzenegger. We want to plant the memory that says, hey, do business with us. Hey, do business with us. Do business with us. How do we do that? Well, with memories. So that's really the secret. That's all the science is about. So brand science that we're going to talk about today is a conglomeration of, there's 13 plus sciences and counting. Won't geek out on them too much, but everything from cognitive psychology to sequence of cognition and how we make memories to how we present communication to design. So if we're talking about design first, that's good-ish. We actually need to back it up. We actually can't just talk about this, because at the end of the day, you can go on Fiverr, or, you know, the kid from your church or your nephew that's a graphic designer, or that person that just downloaded Illustrator at your company. They can go design something, but what they don't know, what you don't know, it's hurting you. You don't know this. That's why I'm here. You don't know this.
I love the metaphor too.
There's sciences here, and if you don't know them, you're trying to use signs and different forms of communication. Say, hey, do business with me, and you don't know the rules of actually how they work. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to talk about basically how do we share who we are, what we do, why we matter, and then talk about the science that all of this orbits and is grounded in, that you don't really know is a reality. It's almost like magic. Like, think of magic. Like, if you'd never seen snow before, you'd think that's magic, right? If you never knew what Kool-Aid was, and I pour the water in and now it changes, that would feel like magic, right? Well, a lot of this can feel like magic. Sometimes marketing can feel like magic, and you're like, oh man, how'd you grow your business? Marketing, man. So we want to talk about the sciences of how this stuff actually works. And so simply stated, we're going to be talking about how to increase, and here's the two things you need to know: mental and physical availability. It all comes down to that, mental and physical availability. So we want to increase the memories that people have of you in their mind. And then there's a way that we do it so that they, when they think of you, have more memories. Let me ask you a question. Do you drive a car ever? Anyone here ever drive a car? Do you guys drive a car?
Yes.
Would you rather drive down a bumpy road that's dirty, like not dirty, I'd say that back, a dirt road with potholes that's not fun, or a 4-lane smooth highway that's freshly paved, that doesn't have any bumps, and like just makes your engine purr and gives you a sense of the open road?
I'm from Michigan, so I wouldn't know
not
what
a trick question.
what the ladder is like.
Alex,
but
how
I mean,
about you?
obviously the second one, right? If you're going on a road trip, it needs to be smooth.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
smooth
Cruise
sailing
control,
is what we're
right?
looking for. Smooth sailing.
Cruise control. And also cruise control, and we're like making a pack of all the people who are driving fast together. Which one has less traffic? Great question. Great question, Kelly, in the chat. But here's interesting. It's not a trick question. Your brain is the same way. If your brain can drive someplace fast and conserve energy and do less work, it will. So there's two parts of our brain, system 1, system 2. System 1 says, I'm on autopilot. I'm going to conserve energy. So I lump stuff together. And so sometimes even negative emotions can be the 4-lane highway that you're used to driving down. Habits are a 4-lane highway that you're used to driving down. Driving in the car, tying your shoes, doing things, talking on the phone while you're on a call or you're working, things that you automate. Part of your brain is literally truncating things all the time, but it's also receiving sensory information. And so it's trying to truncate that. So it's going to go the paths that are the easiest. And what are the easiest? The ones with the most memories. So it thinks of them first. So if I say, man, you're not you when you're hungry, you're thinking, what are you thinking?
Snickers.
Snickers. Alex just snickered a little bit when he said that. Snickers. But what's funny is when you think of that, you then think of the taste, you think of the smell, maybe you think of the commercial with Betty White and getting, line drive by a football player. So when you think of brands and we think of branding, what we're really doing is we're cueing what we call distinctive brand assets that are what? Sensory memories. I'm trying to make sense of the world around me. And here's the interesting thing. Your brain knows that yellow is lemon when we're talking about lemonade. Yeah, oh, it's lemon. There's lemon on the package. But it also knows that lemon means stained teeth when we're talking about the dental industry. But then we get some person who wants to sound intelligent. They go online and they say yellow means happiness. Like, what do you mean means happiness? It does, like, in what category? Maybe there's a big company in your town and they use green and they're everywhere. They're not local, they're only local, but they're not national or regional. But if they want to grow, they better know, can we use that color green to grow internationally? So all of a sudden we start to see, ooh, sensory assets, color, shape, words, sound, character, music. Character could even be like a celebrity or a spokesperson or somebody's face, like Alex or Brian. So you're a human asset. You're a face that people associate. So at the end of the day, we're talking about distinctive brand assets is actually kind of really what this all revolves around. And they're like a magical gem. Like I love sci-fi stuff that has do you ever have no, there's always like a ring, like, oh, there's a ring with magic powers, or there's a gem that like powers stuff, or there's the Tesseract. Like there's always something that magic powers. Well, that's your brand. Your brand identity is your assets, all those distinctive assets.
Yeah, and
so
you put
really
together something really cool today to share with the audience around that, right? And I think, again, most people being visual learners, I'd love if we could dive into that deck you prepared. You've really laid out and defined the categories of those brand assets. It'd be super helpful to kind of know what those are so we can kind of prepare on what we should be building and considering.
I'm fascinated to see
absolutely. So let's magic ourselves here. And I'm showing you what I call the brand science checklist. This is actually a tool that we developed. This is the same tool when I go in to work with Fortune 500 companies. If I'm going into someone who's a $33 billion company, this is the same starting point as if you're a 30K company. One of the first things we're going to do is we've got to assess what brand assets you have. But what's interesting is at the end of the day, your brand's ability to be top of mind is connected to your brand having highly distinct, well-known assets. Basically, if I geeked out and did like data crunching, it would be based on a rubric that was distinctiveness and fame. Well, fame we can increase. Fame, we can always increase fame. Like, how famous is it? But what we can't change is if it's not distinct. And I'm curious, do you guys like, what do you say when you're like, oh, this is how we're different? This is how we're different, or do you say distinct? Like, what do you say? Like, what do you hear people saying?
Typically different. And how we've done it is typically how we coach it also is giving naming conventions to how you do things. So creating intellectual property around, like, someone probably offers the same services. They sell Facebook ads too. They sell SEO too. So how do you differentiate yourself? Naming and giving a naming convention to a product so no one else can offer the same thing. So to me, I think it's like it's in this case, it's word assets, right? Word assets are a huge part of how we coach people to distinguish their offers.
Sure. So what's interesting is when we think of the word differentiate, and I hear this in marketing, there's kind of like a nuance here. There's a nuance here. There's a book by Seth Godin. It's called Purple Cow. But here's the interesting thing, not to slam Seth, but if you have a purple cow, that is a very, very sick cow. Like, that's not real. Like, that's not like, now if you have one black and white cow in a herd of like you have a whole bunch of like Guernsey milk cows, and you have one Jersey cow that's brown and fuzzy. Now that's distinct. So there's a principle here of we want to say distinct. We don't want to say differentiate, because like if you're thinking differentiate, if you're too different, you don't fit the category.
Yep.
So we want to make sure that you fit the category. A great example of this would be is in the cookie aisle. If you're too different, you need to be a cookie. If you're too different, you're cake, you're pie, you're crackers, or chips. So the distinctiveness comes from you being rooted in what customers are expecting and your industry norms. And the way that we create that distinctiveness is by having several things. And so you can see, it kind of looks like a gem. I don't know if we can like tilt your head and it looks like a magic, powerful diamond. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
Like an ice cream cone, sort of. I like ice cream cone. That's magic.
Yeah, we get the distinctive ice cream cone of magic. Yeah.
I would
or like in our fantasy novels, there's always like a walking stick with a gem on the top that like shoots laser beams. That's really what I had in mind.
I like it.
But notice that the top is like orange. It's like I used to make my own sound effects when I was a kid.
I mean, you have sound assets here as part of the one of the things you need. So I'm curious, like through the lens of our audience is going to be mostly marketing agencies, SaaS, software people, experts, coaches. If we're going through each one of these assets, in your opinion, like based on that type of business, what are some things they should be considering? Like, I would guess, and I'd love you for to correct me if I'm wrong, but like sound assets, music assets, maybe not the most important thing for them right now.
Sure.
Shape assets, maybe not as much, but color, probably, definitely. Words for sure, story and human assets for sure. What would you say like the most important ones for agency and SaaS people, and what would be examples of those assets they could create?
Yeah. So here's what's interesting is we're gonna put this back up. I'm kind of bouncing so people can like watch our faces while we talk and we look at this. What's interesting is most like let's just like think like how many do you think the average person has? Like so there's Word. So if in Word you have the name of the brand, you have the actual brand mark, what it looks like what it looks like typed out, then like the logo mark or the word mark. Sometimes it's a combination mark, which is the word and the shape. Sometimes it's just the shape and then it's a different thing. So we've got the word and then we've got the version of it. So that's two, maybe you have a tagline. And then the next one most people have is a color. Like, oh yeah, we got our signature color. I used to call it Pinterest teal. It's like that. It was like that teal color, like girls that drink out of mason jars. If you drink out of mason jars, that's great. Many times they loved chevrons and that Pinterest, like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a teal. It was a Pinterest.
Yeah.
Maybe you have your own signature color. Like, oh, that's orange feral cat orange. That's that rusty feral cat orange. Whatever your color is. What's interesting is it's not just about one color. Maybe that color can trigger you to think of that brand. And if so, you're winning. Sometimes that color can also trigger you to think of a category. The majority of coffee as an industry is red. Starbucks chose to be green in a time when 98% of all international coffee brands were red. If you look at red internet or coffee, red. If you look at coffee internationally, it's predominantly red. So then they set a trend geolocationally in the US to be green, which is a contrapositive or an opposite color. So it contrasts and it stands out, but that also wasn't where they started. They also started with brown. So there's some strategic decision making, and they also had some like cattywampus looking sea creature lady at the beginning. If you've seen the old ones, she's gotten a glow up. So they took some pounds off.
And maybe to pile on to my question, if I think it will be helpful, because again, this is building on a conversation you and I had earlier, this idea that, what got you here won't get you to the next place, or even exaggerating, like what got you here will kill you trying to do that same thing and get to the next level. So like we look at brands sometimes, like that these huge conglomerates like Starbucks, we're like, well, they have like all this attention to detail in their logo and like the colors and like, but you may not need that right now. What may be most important for you is just the people assets. As I almost kick my coffee or knock my coffee off the floor. That was dangerous. But your people assets are like your face, right? Like your face. Do you have decent headshots? Do you portray yourself as a professional? Maybe that's where one of the first assets you start with, versus like the color and shape of your logo might be a little bit down the road. Or again, I'm open to your opinions. Like, what do you think? Like, again, if agency owners, software people, where do they start?
Yeah. So if we're and thanks for keeping us focused. If we look at this, the average brand, obviously, if you're an agency, you have your business name. If you're a personal brand and you're a coach consultant, or you have a name driven brand, obviously you're a human asset. You better have some, like you said, some images that you use regularly and consistently. There's one of me in a tie, but there's also one of me holding my Foxy mug like this. Why? Because I'm addressing the perception in the marketplace that not only am I the adorable brand science next door, but I'm also approachable. I'm lighthearted. I'm humorous. And that goes to the story asset, which is your motivations. If you want a finely tuned crafted vehicle, you're going to get an Audi or a BMW. If you want adventure, you pick a Jeep. So when we think of brands, there's so many things going on. The average brand, actually, and we started talking about this, like you have the name and maybe a color, maybe it's you. Well, that's three. when you think about 3 to 5, the average brand has 3 to 5 assets. And let's just think about that. Like when you think about it, like you have a dirt road, or do you want the 4-lane highway? Do you want it easier for people to buy you? Well, you want them to drive down the 4-lane highway of their memories, and you be top of mind. So we find that the average brand needs to have at least 15 to 25. And you're out there trying to stay top of mind. And here's the other thing. I want you to make a correlation, or invite you to consider that when you're comparing yourself to a brand, you're comparing to their outsides. And there's totally like some internal work ways we could take this, but just functionally as a business, you're comparing to a brand that is higher along. So think of a pyramid, traction, growth, scale, authority. You're comparing your marketing on a high mass scale level and exhausting yourself out trying to fulfill your marketing based on where a business is farther away that has nothing to do with you, but you're doing activities. So I want to back up and invite you to say, like, wait a second, what if I focused on the marketing activities I need to do right now to grow my business, to attract the right clients? So when they look at it, they're like, sweet tea, lemon, got it. Whatever your business is, it's a metaphor, so it's like, instead of like confused, like we think marketing is supposed to tell this magical story with our design. I will tell you a secret. Science shows us it's better to be meaningless. It's better to be meaningless and be distinct than it is to try to jam pack a story full of circles and periwinkle blue and my family history. Because here, I'll tell you a story. At the end of the day, every chiropractor is a family-owned and operated chiropractor. That's not distinct. Every agency is started with a passionate founder who wants to help out the small business. That's not distinct. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of factors that we take for granted that we think in our marketing is effective, and it's actually not, because what the person is actually looking for, it has nothing to do with what we're selling. So we're obsessing about beautiful websites and landing pages, but it doesn't matter if we don't have any traffic to come there. And once we get the traffic there, if they don't look at it in less than a second, say like, oh, underwater basket weaving for otters, love it, sell it, buy it, I'm down. Oh
yeah, and that's why I'm so glad I have you on the show today, my man, because you get it, right? You know how to, this is where you balance smart design with smart business decisions, and don't let this become ultimate black hole that you spend all your time and never actually make money doing. So this is key, guys.
And
right place, right time.
Here's the problem. Let's go back to the rabbits. They're fun.
That's the problem with AD as an entrepreneur.
That's the problem.
Every shiny object is enjoyable.
You could go on Theme Forest all day and find commercially viable like SaaS and ecom and themes that are already they're ready to go and they're beautiful, and you can sit there and you can play with them and try to be like, which one's the right one for me? You can go on Fiverr, you can go on all these, you could go on iStock Photo, you can go on Free Pick, and all of a sudden you're sucked into a vortex. But imagine if this vortex is football and you're like, oh my gosh, the colors, the uniforms, I love the uniforms. Ooh, the helmets, I love the helmets. And what if you get on the field and you get annihilated?
Yeah, everyone talks about how stupid you looked, regardless of what you wear.
But the uniforms were pretty, Mom. I made them myself. There's actually a science to how uniforms are actually made, so they're high visibility. If you ever look at old vintage videos of football, and I'm not a huge sports person, but I know enough to talk about it on shows like this. I play an expert on TV. But high visibility, like we take for granted. We're just so used to good design, it's invisible to us. So invisible. And then we start a brand, we start an agency. We've got this, we're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur. We launch our thing. We've got our team. We're building our brand. And those things have so much meaning and things to us, but we forsake the idea and the understanding that there's like so much science to actually how this goes in. We go and we show up, we want to play football, and our metaphorical, there's so many metaphors today. There's going to be more
coming. I love it.
Show up to play football in game day. And here's the thing, we have no idea what the actual rules are. We actually don't know how to play. We're just trying to look the part. And at the end of the day, someone else goes home with the prize. And here's what the prize is. The prize is actually you being unfulfilled as a human, being able to have a commercially viable product that serves people.
Yeah.
It
100%.
has nothing to do with profit. It has nothing to do with, you may have just enough profit to make it, but at the end of the day, like, are you really doing what you feel made to do? And that's really where I like to really cut through. Like, what is marketing meant to do? Marketing is meant to say, cute store that sells cottage core mugs. Bam. I don't have to overthink it. There's some things that are really distinct. Yes, absolutely. But also brands are near knockoffs of each other. Toilet paper aisle. It's wide, it's tall, it's clear. There's a soft, squishy animal or baby in the middle. It's red, blue, or yellow based on its strength. And there's bad math in the corner that even with like a master's degree, I still don't understand how to do the math in the corner. So yes, that's toilet paper. That's the toilet paper industry. And there's, yes, everyone kind of Splenda's yellow, and even the knockoff brands. So there's trade dress. So there, we find out there are these boundaries, and you're trying to deploy your marketing, and by not knowing what the science is and the boundaries are of how people think and what things mean geocontextually, locally, regionally, nationally, and also whether or not 5 years down the road you're going to get a cease and desist letter from another brand that says you're using our trademarked color. I didn't know anything about that. Well, you should have, but you didn't, because you didn't know. So all of a sudden this stuff starts, you can go a very long time. And you know what, devil's advocate here, or we'll say truth advocate, because it's not about arguing, it's about telling the truth lovingly. What if you had a mediocre successful business? What if you could have an amazing business? What if you had the best business? So this is really the fast track to say who you are, what you do, and why what you do matters to the right people that it matters to. And maybe they just like a dude with a nose ring. Like, let's be baseless here. Maybe they like you because you have cute stuff on your, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's how really kind of ridiculous. But at the end of the day, those are also things that align. Those are like, oh, he wears a necklace, I don't like him. Okay, well, there's people that are going to love him because he wears a necklace, or she only works with unicorn entrepreneurs, or he has a special ad system and the acronym is CAKE. I don't know. So those are the distinctive things. And so at the end of the day, why would you want to do what you're doing in your agency or as a SaaS firm or a coach or consultant? Why would you want to do those things? What if you could get where you want to be further, farther, faster? No one is telling you your brand is crap. No one's telling you your brand's crap. It's like if you go.
That's what I heard you say. I heard you say it. I'm just kidding.
Which one of you sings? Are you a singer? Is Alex the singer or is Brian the singer?
I have the most gorgeous voice ever.
No, Alex, definitely Alex, not me. I do not have any voice for radio
so
or
Alex,
singing.
What if
I
told you, oh my gosh, Alex, you love singing, you should go to a vocal coach? What do you hear?
I hear that you are delusional, but I appreciate it.
What if actually that meant was, oh my gosh, you are so good naturally, and I want you to refine that and get even better at it? What if you could be one of the most fantastic vocalists ever and make a career being a Grammy award-winning, singer-songwriter? So
I'll be in the entourage.
You'll be the entourage. You'll be his
I'll
manager.
Be in the entourage. I'll be security when he becomes a pop star.
You'll be security. So it's that same thing is with branding. It's, you may have a brand. What if we can polish it, make it even better, make it even more effective? What if we polish the things you have? What if we test and see what works and what doesn't? That's part of being an entrepreneur and a business leader.
Yeah, and you prepared in the deck one more thing I'd love to go through, and then I have kind of a curveball question I'll throw you as we're wrapping up today. But show us the slide in the deck where we talk about how to now go build those things out, because I agree with the hypothetical question of like, what if you could? So a lot of us maybe have some of these assets in place. How do we add more assets? You said the average brand has about 15. Yeah. What are you looking for on that spectrum to get to? And if you don't mind sharing that real quick, I think that'd be a really good
let's
barometer for everyone.
And I've got a goodie. I think we're gonna, if it's okay with your permission, we're gonna share this with everybody. They can take this.
Yes, we asked the audience. There was like 60 plus comments of people wanting
Oh my
this
goodness,
deck.
that's wonderful.
So
That's fantastic. So, well, all of you are gonna get this today. So this is called the brand science checklist. Like I said, this is the starting point. Literally everyone, no matter the success of your profit market, no matter how big your brand, you're gonna do this. You're gonna count these up. And you can take this, you can count this today. If you can count and you can circle things. You like circling things, and you can even use a calculator if you can't count very well. So literally, it's just going through each of these, and I've color coded them to make it more fun because colors are fun. B, they're also some of the brand colors I use, but you're going to count these up, and you're going to walk through just some of these questions of each category. Do you have a brand mark? Or I say brand mark. Some people say logo. I'm going to encourage you to say brand mark because logo can feel. If you say logo, it's like my logo. But if you say brand mark, it's like, yeah, I have a brand mark. It's more like part of a suite of arsenal of things. So you're going to count these through each category. Do you have a character, an animal? Do you have a founding person? You're going to count them, and you're going to walk up, and finally you're just going to add these all together. And you're going to see where you rate yourself. Just a little self-assessment. You've gone through each of the 7 sensory categories. You add up your answers, and you see where your brand's ability to drive mental availability and top of mindness is. And here's the thing. This isn't getting into the efficacy and how distinct they are. We're just starting to count. And if you're finding you only have 3 to 5, you know you're not alone. You know, most small businesses have no more than 3. Their name, their brand mark, and a color. It looks like it may be worth having a conversation with, a strategic branding partner. And then, each of these goes and it shares like, oh, you've got 6 to 10. Yeah, you've got a good start. It's okay. You in fact, you're ahead of 50 to 75% of the businesses. 11 to 20, you're not at the top, you're not at the bottom. You got a few assets, but now we need to start looking at them. Which are the ones we need to keep? Which are the ones we need to work on? 20 to 30, okay, your marketing's more primed. You've actually, maybe you have, 3 to 5 distinctive typefaces. So you've got 5 in that category, more than your competitor does. So some of these questions are going to prime you to look at, do we create more assets? Do we test? Do we test and refine? Or are we kind of doing a combination of test, refining, and developing more? And so this starts the conversation for you to say, okay, over the next 90 days, like in a sprint, if you're familiar with traction or EOS or many business programs or coaching programs, they say like, what are your rocks for the next 90 days? So branding becomes part of that. And you do it regularly through some of the other assessment tools. We talked about the branding pyramid. If you know that you need to build your brand platform, and through our conversation today of your distinctive brand assets and your core offer and some of those things, we know you need that brand platform. Well, you're going to know what's next for the next 90 days. If you start to use these lenses of assessing where your brand is at, you're able to build out your understanding of the future of what you need to work on with your brand. Because the goal is you don't want these to be stagnant. You want to keep them alive. Okay, so you use that photo that you use all the time, maybe on your page. Okay, maybe next year, or next quarter even, let's add another one of you in the team. Or maybe, you have some great clients that you love working with, and it's important for you to show in your marketing you with clients. Maybe you only use 3 to 5 photos, but it's the same ones over and over because people are really, really hard. That's why stock photography usually doesn't work, because you usually don't have this scenario that's specific and distinct enough to your brand. So that's why okay, use that to get people on the landing page, that soft editorial, soft focus picture of the coffee cup or whatever, but then get away from that and show something that's very brand specific, stylistically specific. So the goal is for you to start building your assets. And so eventually you can start building a plan. And that's something we do actually. We've got a program, it's called the Brandpreneur program. And that's a 10-week program that we teach people the foundations of brand science, and we teach them the brand authority pyramids so that they can diagnose where they are and know what activities are next. And eventually, and then they walk away with a plan. So that's really the goal is, regardless of how you get there, you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan with your brand at all times. That's really what it comes down to.
Cool.
And
Plan
this is
for
a
the
great
brand.
starting tool. Brand for the plan.
Plan
brand.
for the brand. Brand for the plan. I love that.
That's like 50 ways to leave your lover. Take out the plan, brand. No.
I've got before we make more
Take out
bad dad jokes, which I'm a fan of, before we hit the top of the hour, I would love to try something a little fun and different if you're open to it.
Absolutely.
You did just share, I would love actually, before we do this to wrap up the show, where can people go if they want to learn more? If you want this deck, by the way, guys, drop a comment in the Facebook Live. There's a place in the group you can do it. I saw a link to your website, I believe, in the deck, but where would you like people to go if they want more information?
Yeah. So we've got I've got a link where it keeps it all easy, and hopefully we can put it in the show notes. You can put it in the chat. It's just Linktree/Staeven Frey.
Awesome.
And we're going to put that in the show notes and put that in. You can click on there, and there's several things that you can do. Obviously, if you want the brand science checklist, click that. That's on there. You can go to bit.ly/brand science checklist too, but all the links, everything that you could possibly want are there. You can check out more of the work that I do at quantumbranding.agency. You can also watch a 10-minute award-winning speech. You can hear me talk about brand science in a fun, adorable, simple ways that are lighthearted and fun, and that can hopefully energize you and make you excited about your branding again. Because at the end of the day, you have to embody this. You can't just go hire someone else to do it. That's kind of the big myth here. It's just like sales. You want to like have someone do sales, and if they're not good at it, and then you're mad that they're not good at it. Why? Because you got to teach them. So we want you to embody your marketing. And another way that you can do that as well is by checking out the Brandpreneur program. That's a 10-week program, hybrid model plus 4-day workshop for purpose-driven brand leaders to give them confidence, more time, energy, money in their pocket, and the Brandpreneur program. So you can check that out. That's all in that link on the link tree, on the link tree, on the link tree. So
awesome, man. Well, I'm going to do something a little bit fun and different today.
Okay. Please do it fun and different.
I have prepared 3 different logos. I'm hoping you don't know what they are. You might. Alex will probably know the first one. Definitely the third one. I hope you don't know any of them. I want you just to, I'm going to pull these logos up. I want you just to, in 2 or 3 words, tell
Wrong
me
answers only.
That's fine. That's fine too. Tell me what it
means
to you. Only looking at the logo, what does it mean to you? Go. And I'll tell you what it is after you give 2 or 3 words to it.
Okay, it's a really bad hood ornament on pause.
It's a bad hood ornament on what? On a car?
On pause, like pushing the pause
on
button.
Pause. Interesting. Okay, cool. I'm glad
AHWS.
So what do you think kind of brand this is?
I'm just saying wrong answers only.
What kind of brand is this?
I would say sports.
Nailed it. This is an OG Lions football logo from like the 60s or something. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
That's
Next.
where I was gonna say it's kind of gives me Detroit Lions-ish vibe. Most likely in undergraduate kind of level is where I would go.
Can you believe they had this on their helmets for a while? This is a terrible lion. This is like a kid drew it. Okay, next. 2 to 3 words. What does this mean to you, or what do you think this is?
That's swim goggles, bro. Swim goggles.
You look because of how it's shaped.
I know that one. Huh?
Because of how it's shaped?
No, I know that brand. So
interesting. Got it. They've just recently stepped into CrossFit. I've seen they make swim goggles too. They were into like golf. They're all over the place. Okay, last one.
Yeah. So
I hope you don't know what this is.
Sports brand.
Okay, last one. Hope you don't know what this is.
It is a Beats by Dre Steak and Shake automobile mini.
Damn it. We didn't give it away with Alex's logo behind him. It's the POD logo, which I don't know if when we made it, there was much other thought than trying to make P, O, and D crammed into it.
That is so good.
But that was hilarious. Thank you. I didn't know what to expect,
Beats
but that was a great way to end the
Dre
show.
Plus Bentley. That's what it is. I love that.
Beats by Dre
Bentley. Thank you so
Steak
much.
And Shake. You got to get the cream slushes at Steak and Shake. They're good.
It's too good. Oh, it's
appreciate you so much.
Answers only, but I couldn't. as a former swimmer who was tortured to swim the 500, I was like, yeah, I know.
Yes, they started in swimming. Got you.
So funny.
I hedged. I was gonna do the OG Adidas logo, but I figured you'd know that one as a designer. So
Steak and Shake does in fact have.
Oh my goodness, we're Steak and Shake.
And officially, we are now synonymous with Steak and Shake. Stephen, thank you so much for the time today. For everyone that joined us, as always, we appreciate you. We are here every single Thursday, 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We do this show every single week. We always bring the fire for you and amazing special guests like Stephen. If you guys want to know more about him, he is in the show notes. Thank you all for being here. We are appreciative of you. We wish you all the best, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.